Welcome to Yes Also. I'm Suzi Barrett. My guest today is the always hilarious Laci Mosley. You know her as one of the stars of Going Dutch and as the empress of the Scam Goddess Empire. It was a podcast, now it's a show, it's a book, it's literally everything. And in the improv world, she started at UCB New York and now is a stalwart of the UCB LA community. You can see her on her house team, Leroy. That's once a month on Friday nights, paired with Sentimental Lady. Laci is one of the funniest improvisers there is, and you'll get a taste of why on this episode. We had a very funny conversation filled with bits, but also packed with improv insights and insights on having an acting career. Remember that this is just the first half of our interview, and the second half can be accessed at yesalso.supercast.com. Remember to follow us on Instagram at yesalsopod and subscribe to us on YouTube for free. We have a goal of hitting 1,000 subscribers there, and we believe you can help us do that. Okay, here's Laci. Laci, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Suzi. It's been a minute.
It's been a real minute. I know. First, how are you in general? It seems from what I see on TV, it seems like life is good. Is life good?
You know how TV is real life. You know how when you see it on
right.
TV, it'd be just as good.
Well, one thing I do know about TV is when my friends are on it, they are paying their rent. So
right. Okay. See, listen, and God, please, Lord, we thank you. Yeah, it's been a ride. I would say now I'm back on the climb of getting my real life back. It was a little touch and go there for a moment. It was just a little too much work. I said yes to too many things, and they all converged on me. Yeah, and so that was crazy.
That's a really interesting aspect of our career that people don't talk about a lot, which is our career is built on hustle and saying yes to things, especially when we're first starting out. Yes, I'll do every practice group. Yes, I'll do your student film. Yes, I'll do, and you keep that pattern because it's feast or famine. When you're not working, there's nothing, and you got to stay in it, and you got to do stuff. And then when you reach a certain point, there can be a backfire to that where you burn out, or like in your case, it's like the projects you're saying yes to are massive things. Like it's no small thing to go shoot on location for, weeks on end. And yeah, I've had people say that like it can suck to burn out in that way because you don't want to seem like you're ungrateful for success. Do you have that?
Suzi, you are really speaking right to my soul. That's crazy. She whipped out some tarot cards, y'all. No.
King of Mosley. What is this?
I love King too. No, you're absolutely right. You're completely spot on. And even you saying like it coming from like kind of the training, like, back in the day, it was the student films. It was doing the practice sessions. It was coaching improv. It was producing as many shows as possible, just trying to get visibility. And then I definitely carried that. Feast or famine is something that's constantly in my mind, and it's something that I'm trying to. It's hard to get away from. I will say that like I'm not trying hard enough, but it's one of those things that is always in the back of my head and has been since before I even started acting. Because, when you tell your parents you want to be an actor, that's like telling them you want to be a DJ or a rapper. Those are like the shameful careers until they become successful and then everybody loves you. But trying to get somebody to listen to your mixtape when you just started, the girls don't want it. They don't want it.
And at least that career comes with something like mixtapes where they can listen to it on their own time. Our world is like you have to get them to come to an improv show. It's like
I don't
a
even
mixtape
invite
is
people
so
to
much
those.
easier.
I feel bad. I put it on my Insta story, but like I remember one time my mom came with 12 of my aunties and like family friends. When you Black, you grow up with them, they're just their aunties. Like we don't really familiar tree just starts branching out roots. And
sure.
James Mastriani, because I was like, can you just like set aside some seats for them? And he was like, we don't typically do that at UCB. And he wasn't being shady. He was just like, no one has ever asked him. So he was like, yeah, sure, I'll ask. He's super sweet. So they roped off 12 seats for like my diva family members who were currently staying at Tupac's old mansion to come see me do improv. And of course, like they come, they're like all dressed to the nines because, they're going to Nobu after and all this. They come, and I remember, how after the improv shows, like if your friends or your family come, like they'll come to the door and wait for you afterwards so they can say hi or whatever.
Yeah.
So I go around, with my improv team, and I'm like waiting for my mom and all my relatives. I'm like, they haven't come out yet. That's crazy. And then this like black long stretch Hummer limo pulls up and the back window rolls down and it's my mom. And she's like, oh, that was so cute, baby. We thought you was going to be doing stand-up, but that was so lovely. We had a great time. When you done with your friends, come on back to Tupac's mansion. And then it just drives away.
She throws her olive pit out the window, chugs a martini, and rolls up the window. Yeah. Mom. Yeah.
And everyone on my team looked at me and were like, oh, we get it now. That's your mom? And I was like, yeah, that's my mom.
So
you better.
Funny. You better. Yeah. Yeah. I actually had to make her come to this just so you could understand me better.
Yeah, literally. They were like, oh, we get it now. We get it. But my mom was always saying feast or famine in this industry. So yeah, I said yes to a lot of things. And it's really hard to take your mind out of a scarcity mindset where you're like, you never know. Like, you never know there's going to be a strike, or like even the stuff with the tariffs. We're seeing that like China plans to retaliate with, not showing U.S. like movies and television shows. Like, you don't know what the extent is going to be in the economy. And that directly affects us because technically we're always giggers. You know what I mean? Like, you save as much as you can, but you're always gigging. So it's a weird place to be.
Right. Yeah. And recently, like, we felt it with the shift during COVID and then the strikes. It's like, gigging is hard enough when you have stable ground under you and the goalpost isn't moving. Gigging is hard. But when the ground is shifting and the reality changes every few months, then it's triply hard. It's like, well, we don't even know what the gigs are going to be or what's, it's hard enough just to audition and get stuff. So yeah, I feel you. Do you feel some aspect of like, are you able to catch your breath sometimes and recognize like, okay, like you've made it at least to some sort of feeling of a plateau where you've gotten to a certain height or a certain level? Do you feel that at all? Are you able to enjoy it?
No.
Okay, great.
Not.
All right. I got to revise my vision board then. Maybe I will become a shoe salesman or something regular.
Yo, I be looking at Chick-fil-A's like, how much some franchises cost? They stopped doing the anti-gay donations, right? I could get involved. Like,
stop that, right? Just because my friends don't talk about it anymore.
Yeah, and I see so many gay people there. They look happy. And, so they look gay and gay. So can I buy one yet? No, it's definitely like something that I'm working on is like enjoying the now, because I was so busy that I missed so many amazing things. And it's kind of been, these past 2 months have been the beginning of me undoing 6 years worth of workaholic damage that I've done to myself. And so it's a process. I mean, even today, me being like, oh, I have to, when we get off of here, I'm going to the doctor. That's a doctor that I'm seeing not because I have an immediate illness, but because like I need to go to the doctor, not the Hollywood set doctor who's just trying to make sure you don't got nothing pre-existing so they can make sure if you die on set, they don't, it's you not their responsibility, but like my real doctors. And so it's just like going and taking care of myself. And I have spent some time reflecting now because last year I was in Times Square 3 times. One time for Scam Goddess. I was in the Going Dutch ads in Times Square and my Scam Goddess television show at the same time.
Wow. On 3 different billboards?
Yeah.
Like, at the same time. Wow.
Yeah, it was my podcast for Amazon and then Going Dutch for Fox and then my television show for Hulu, on
Laci,
top of the Good Morning America building.
That's gotta feel crazy. Like, was that a good feeling at least? Like,
it was, but like it was mired by work. It was like I never really got to take a breath and be like really excited. I didn't see my billboard until they almost went down in LA. I never saw the Going the Dutch ones in person, and the Scam Goddess ones, people would send me pictures. Everyone would just send me pictures, and I would kind of feel it that way. And then one time I was like, you know what? Before they take these down, because now it's just streaming on Hulu, I need to go like look at one. And my friend Kyle had told me that there was one on Santa Monica and Vine. So I was driving home one day and I just went that direction and I stood in front of it for a little while and just like looked at it and was like, wow, like this is a billboard by myself. And
a limo rolled by, the window went down and your mom went, that's cute.
It's like, we're going back to Tupac's mansion.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was like I was working so much, it was always the next thing. And now that these projects are out, it's like securing the next or what's happening. And it's a hard way to live. And I don't want to live that way anymore.
Yeah.
So it is trying to find the balance between gratitude, having your own real life, because work can't be your whole life. I've learned that the hard way this year, because then all the problems at work become problems that you take home versus like my friends who like, I talked to Danny Pudi a lot about this because he has this beautiful family and like a lot of crazy stuff happened when I was shooting in Ireland. Another crazy thing is like you might be here one day and then 5 days later you have to go to Ireland and be there for 3 months. So
pack your bags. Yeah.
And I'm still waiting right now. Like that's the actor's life. Is like you're in limbo. It's like, okay, well, we'll know when they pick up the show, and then you never know in 2 weeks you might not be living in this country for a while. So it's a wild way to live your life and it's very hard to plan. But I learned that no one's going to give me the break if I don't give myself the break. So, that's where I'm at right now. But I'm trying to appreciate it all more. I never saw my book in stores. It came out when I was flying to Ireland. And then I came back here and I was like leaving an appointment. And there was a bookstore. I know bookstores no more, girl. So I was like, a bookstore? What ain't the purveyor of the bookwares? Oh my God.
Ye old book shoppy. Huh.
I got my doubloons out the car.
Right.
And I was
they
like,
sell sassafras.
Right.
Yeah. You got your doubloons out.
Right. I got some chicken and stuff, just in case they bartering. You never know. This is olden times.
Yeah, you got to bring your oxen just in case.
Exactly. Tie them up out front. You know the vibes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I went and I saw my book on a shelf and that was the first time. And it was only one left. And I was like, what? And I was like, did they only put one in here? That's where my brain goes. My business brain goes, did they only put one book in here?
It's the new version of glasses half full, glasses half empty. They only put one out or there's only one left. What's your perspective on life? Yeah.
And see, that's why I need to change my perspective because I wasn't like, oh my God, I sold out. I think on Instagram, to your point of like, oh, it looks good on TV. I was like, oh my gosh, they only have one book left, y'all. And then I went to the counter and I was like, did y'all only put one book out here?
What did they say?
They were like, no, actually, we need to order some more. And then he ordered some more books. And I was like, that's crazy. I can't be a foot soldier for my own book. However, I will take it. I was like, yeah, go ahead and order some more.
Right. Yeah. Put an extra 0 on that order. Let's,
Right.
Man, yeah, that's so interesting. The pile on effect where like, oh man, now you have to like just sneak a peek at your billboard, sneak a peek at your book rather than enjoying the slow burn of seeing all this stuff happen. The shadow side of huge, big success. I want to back up a little bit. So you talked about your family coming to the improv show. Had they seen improv before? Was this a new? Okay, because they thought it was stand-up, right? Or it was going to be stand-up, which I think is a common experience with our families. It's like, how do I explain what we do? So how did you discover improv, and how did this journey start for you?
So I had done improv when I was much younger. I told my mom when I was 5 years old that I wanted to be an actor. And, it was basically like, let's pack it up, Lori. We're moving to Tinseltown. Get my daddy, get everybody. We leaving. You know what I mean? Y'all are going to support me like they did Zendaya.
Right. Where was home? Where did you grow up?
Dallas, Texas, specifically Frisco.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's like the suburbs, a little north. And I was born in Terrell, Texas. If you go on the Terrell Wikipedia, in notable people, it's me and Jamie Foxx, which I love so much. My mom went to high school with him. And he's like my idol when it comes to performing. He does it all. And I really love everything that he does. Eric Bishop, if you know, you know. And so then we moved to the burbs and I told my mom I wanted to be an actor and she got me headshots. She got me little kid headshots. And then she would let me take acting classes. And so that's when I first started doing improv. And I can kind of remember, weirdly enough, like my first like very successful comedic scene. And it was, I don't know what, it was like there was someone at the mall who had fell into a pond and they were drowning. But like I conveniently kept finding ways to ignore that they were drowning. I don't know what was happening, but I just remember people laughing and I remember really loving that feeling. And maybe I'm a sociopath. Like why was that the first thing that I did in improv as a child? But
why was my choice not empathy driven? But I have to say that's Well, that's like a strong sense of game as a kid to have this this sense of comedy where like, well, in order for this to be funny, this person has to really not get what they want, and there has to be like a repeated pattern over and over. I have to find ways to not help them. Is like a strong sense of like UCB style game almost, you know. So I gotta say, you had it. You had it young.
Oh, thank you, Suzi. Coming from you, the highest honor. I saw your email in my inbox, and I was like, you know, I was down bad for like the past year and a half, and I was like, Suzi, how did I miss this? Oh my God!
All right, my doctor's appointment can wait. Yeah,
right.
I'll
live. I'm breathing. It's good. We good right now.
Man, no,
I'm like, oh no, I'm just calling my Uber. It is an ambulance, but it's gonna get here when we finish. It's gonna get here when we finish.
It's an ambulance.
But Suzi calls, so like, let us wrap up, and then y'all get me on the cart, get me on the stretcher.
So you feel like you were kind of hooked on this feeling. You got the laughs. You had a successful scene. Did this start putting a seed in your brain of like that improv and comedy are the way to go, or was it still general acting? When did it start kind of narrowing into comedy?
At the time, I didn't know, much more than just general acting. I knew I wanted to do comedy. I knew I loved like all that, and I loved, Nickelodeon used to have the shows. They used to have the shows for the girls, and so I always loved comedy, and so I told my mom I wanted to move to Hollywood. I was so serious. And I remember her sitting me down and being like, I think you're really talented. And my mom is like not the type of person who just like lies. Like if I wasn't good at this, I would not be doing it. And my dad too, like my whole family, like we're very honest people when it comes to stuff like that. Like if this is not your ministry, like we will find something else for you to do. Don't worry.
This is not your ministry is such a great way to say that.
We all have gifts. You just got to find yours. If this isn't yours, we move on to the next.
And the good Lord didn't put this in you, but he has another plan, surely.
You don't need to be singing in the choir, but you have a talent for passing out a program. You get over here and grab these programs. Pass them. You be passing them the best.
Sure, everybody has already been given one, but you can practice.
Right,
you can give them a second one. Yeah. Oh, that's
so
so funny.
She told me that, I was born into her life, not vice versa, and that she couldn't uproot her whole life for us to go live in our car in Hollywood or something. We weren't destitute or anything. She just immediately jumped to like whatever she had seen on Oprah, because my mom loves Oprah. At one point, there was a room in our house dedicated to Oprah, the Oprah room, which had like cardboard cutouts of Oprah in it that said "Read." My mom has been to the Oprah show many times.
She's been to the what many times?
The Oprah show. Back when Oprah had a television show. She has Oprah t-shirts. She met Ricky Martin. Anytime she could get to Chicago, child, she was up at Oprah.
That is great. But also the cardboard cutout is saying "read" is so funny. Of all the inspirational Oprah quotes, we're going to boil it down to one thing. Read.
Yeah, because it was the Oprah Book Club, and so I guess they were about to get rid of the cutout, and my mom asked the lady remember the old Yee book tills? She asked her at the Barnes & Noble book till if she could have the cutout.
Oh, God, I love your mom. This is great.
She's great. And so it was a guest room. She wasn't sleeping in there, but it was, yeah. But yeah, so she was like, we can't move to Hollywood.
I do want to say, like, if I'm 5-year-old Laci in that situation, I want to counter her argument when she says, like, you were born into my life, not vice versa. I want little Laci to be like, yeah, but I didn't choose to be born here, and you're the one who forced me into this world.
Listen, you can't beat a black woman's catchphrase. Not in our homes, okay? Once black mamas start putting down catchphrases, the conversation is over. When they talk about, I'm not the one nor the two, just go to your room. Like, it's over. Once they start hitting them, the greatest hits, the black woman mama greatest hits, no. You just
the soundtrack.
Know you lost.
Yeah. Oh,
literally.
God, it's so good.
Literally. And so she was also like, and I want you to have a childhood. I don't want you to end up like so many of these actors do who start as children, all messed up from Hollywood and stuff. And I did appreciate that she thought that I was going to get far enough as a child to get messed up. Because, a lot of kids be duds. They don't really, they get one commercial and be right. That. She was like, nah, you're going to get to the point where they're going to be trying to do the cabal. And I was like, you know what, you're right. I am
You're like, wow, you're already putting me in Studio 54. Cool. I'm like, I'm at Drew Barrymore's.
And you should.
Yeah.
And I was like,
So
you're right.
funny.
I would be there right next to her. I have no judgment for Drew. I love that she be out here dancing in the rain and shit. I'm like, bitch, you have lived. Go ahead, queen.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, she was right. Because I would have been in there like, what do we got to do to get the part? Let's all get in together. And my mom was like, no, absolutely not. And so I was like, okay, great. And but I did bargain with her. I was like, well, you know, as long as my grades are good, can I keep going to acting classes? And she was like, yeah, as long as your grades are good, I'll take you to whatever acting stuff you want to do. So I went to every scam out there. John Robert Powers, Barbizon, you name it. If it was playing on the radio, my ass was at the mall trying to figure out what was going on.
Yeah. I remember that stuff. I remember begging my mom to take me to that stuff. And like the model searches and everything where it's like, 1,000 people lined up and they're supposed to pick you if you're, but you have to pay to be there.
You have to pay for all the photos, and don't worry, they cost thousands.
Right.
Luckily, I didn't fall for those scams because it's like obviously my mom's checkbook, so we would go. But if they started giving us like kind of the timeshare spiel, we were like, okay, this ain't it. But she would take me, so that was exciting. But yeah. So that's that was the beginning. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say
I went all the way back
forward.
to infancy. Like fast forward to like when I actually started doing it.
Yeah, it was like, you're like, I did a scene in a mall when I was 5 months old. No, it's so cool that you started that young though. Like a lot of us have like these inklings that we want to do comedy, but that you actually had an outlet and a way to do it at a very young age and confirmed like, yep, this is the water I want to swim in is great. Yeah. Did you started at UCB New York, is that right? Or did you? Okay. So walk me through that. Let's fast forward a little bit. You moved to New York to do all types of acting, not just improv and stuff. Yeah. So take me there.
I went to college at the University of Pittsburgh, and so I have a business degree, specifically a BS in science and marketing, and then I have a performance degree. And I moved to New York because I wanted to act. So it was just like all forms of acting at that point. I remember when The Lion King had some kind of open call casting, and girl, back in the day, I didn't know. And if you're listening to this and you aspired to anything in the performing profession, don't go to no damn open cast call. I mean, in the beginning, maybe. If you don't have any agents, you don't got nothing to do that day, why not chance it? Maybe. But they had local news there. It was completely just a PR thing. Why they literally have like all these people out dancing in the street, singing, dancing in the street. They would be like, oh, well, sing us a little bit of Calling Now. And you'd be like, what the fuck is happening? And I actually got to the second round of that, but I had my little song book. I had my, my training or whatever. And then I was like, this is not the way. But eventually, I met this guy named Jacinto, who was a friend of my cousin's, and he is an older actor who has been in so many things, like not anything like where it was like a series regular, but he's the type of person you see his face, you recognize him because he's guest starred in so many things over the years, and he does theater. And he sat down with me and he put me on game, and this changed my life. So he was like, if you want to act, there's a few ways to go about this professionally. And I was like, okay, what are they? And at that point, I was starting to lean towards comedy. Throughout college, I kind of started to realize I had an affinity for it. I started doing stand-up shortly after this. So he was like, you can go to a grad school. So, you go to like a grad school, like a Juilliard or a Rutgers, or, he started naming like grad programs in acting that have very, the NYUs, the Tishes, that have very strong ties to the industry. And then obviously once you graduate, it's kind of payola because you're paying for grad school, but they have an agent showcase and all the big agents come out to pluck up the new, very well-trained, classically trained talent, right?
Yeah.
Then he was like, or you can do stand-up. You have people come to your shows. You start booking more shows. You invite reps to the shows. You do like that kind of situation where you're doing stand-up a lot, where you're writing your own material and getting up as much as possible. Or you can do improv. He was like, you go to an improv theater and you take a bunch of classes, and then you get a commercial direct or a commercial agent, and you kind of start to build your way up there. They have showcases too. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Or you go to perform at repertory theaters, and then you do that until you can get your actor's equity card and get in the union. You can travel and you can do more work that way.
Man, he really knew his shit. Like, that is such a good boil down of 4 different tracks, and that is, like, how it goes. Like, that's kind of the layout of kind of all the paths that my friends and I took in different ways. Yeah, that's, man, cool. Yeah. All right.
Right? He was a blessing, but he set me up with all the entry points. So I was bartending at the time, this place called Karma Lounge, where we would it was like very much Coyote Ugly, one place you could still smoke inside in New York, on First Ave. And I made hookahs. I was a hookah hoochie, and I bartended. I bartended the foot fetish parties, the ladies of the feet, the men of the feet tip very well. I didn't have to get my toes out. I was just behind the bar. But, they would have different nights downstairs. So it was like the foot fetish night. They had Jamaican dance hall. They also had a stand-up night. So I started doing stand-up there because it was like a very chill place. So eventually I started getting up and I really liked it. I started doing it more. And then I got to a point where I was like, I don't want to be in dark bars with a bunch of sad-ass alcoholics. And there's a few people from the New York stand-up scene that I'm still very, very close to. And then there's newer comedians that I know now, obviously, but the people that I came up with that I still know and talk to and sometimes work with. But the environment for me as a woman became very toxic. I didn't run away from it because I was scared or anything like that. I was just like, the vibes here are just trash. And I don't need somebody being like, oh, you're pretty. I hope you're as funny as you are pretty. And them same motherfuckers in my DMs now like, congratulations. I'm like, yeah, bitch, I was always funnier than you. Get out of my face.
Yeah.
But so that's when I turned to improv because I was like, I want to do comedy, but this feels a little too seedy for me right now. I was like 21 at the time. And so I started doing improv in New York, and that felt like church camp compared to stand-up,
Yeah.
I feel like I've been super religious during this app. I'm not, like, maybe it's because Easter's coming up, but I'm not like this. I'm not like superly Bible thumpily, but, it just felt like safer as an environment than...
Yeah.
And it wasn't always safe for everybody. I'm not saying that, but it was not a dark bar with a bunch of alcoholics who are sad.
Sure. Everything had its problems, but on the spectrum of how bad it could be and how many people were like that, it's like a much further along on the spectrum of like most of the people were kind and gentle and sweet and So when you started doing improv, did it take a little while to kind of iron out the stand-up in you? You know what I mean? Like, were you kind of like coming in hot in scenes and going for jokes in a way that was like discouraged out of you? Or were you just like, no, I'm going to do this my way?
Oh, hell yeah. No, I got one ass-ripping note from Terry Withers and cut that shit out immediately. I have a deep sense of shame. I'm working on it, but if you tell me something once, bro, it's not going to destroy my confidence, but I'm definitely going to be like, damn. If I agree with it, I'm like, damn, all right, I ain't going to never do that again. Yikes. Like, I definitely came into a scene... I came into a scene with the suggestion I had a scene partner. I was definitely up here just doing jokes. I was definitely like reaching into my set or not even like yes-anding the situation where you're adding information and going on this journey and finding, specifics that you are creating with your scene partner where the comedy in the game comes from. It was like I was basically talking jokes at somebody, and they weren't very good either. We were all starting, but it was like I wasn't even in the scene. I'm just over here doing a tight 10, calling it improv. And he called my shit out for that. And I was like, oh, okay. Never did it again. And that's when I really started to like, I had Terry Withers for 101. No, I had Frank Garcia Hale for 101, and then I had Terry Withers for 102. And that's when I'm no shade to the 103 and 104. I don't remember y'all, but that's when I learned the most was 101 and 102 because like they kind of like I still write jokes, I still write comedy, I still write in other capacities, but I learned in that space and in those moments like how to find authentic things in those moments and how to create that and how to build with my scene partner and also how to tee up things for them and provide paint information on them, like be a giving and gracious scene partner because it's about both of us finding the fun and getting to it together. And I learned all of that from them and pretty quickly. So I do say those were my best improv classes were 101 and 102.
That's great. Yeah. Let's talk about some of those things individually. Let's talk about playing authentically or playing authentic characters. How does that manifest in your play? Do you find yourself drawing on specifics from your life or people that you've encountered throughout your week? Like, do those characters kind of live in your mind as like this well of authenticity to draw on? Or does it come from a different place where you're authentic to you just means playing what you think, what you feel your reaction would be in that situation or something?
I think I would say probably the former. Like it comes from my life lived experiences, things that people have shared with me. I meet a lot of people. I'm very garrulous, and so that's something I've actively had to work on as someone with ADHD. Is like I info dump. Like clearly, like Suzi, you were like, when did you start doing improv? I was like, so when I was a zygote. Let's take it back to 19. You know, like I have my brain. I'll get back to the circle, but it's like it is a loop. And
right. And just to be clear, that zygote was sitting in a church pew. Is that what I'm? Okay. I just want to be really clear about everything. Yeah.
Oh hell no! Listen, I've had an abortion. Okay. No, but
tell it.
No. So yeah, it's kind of all the experiences I've had, all the people that I meet, different little fun details that they tell me. I've found that in comedy specifically, at least for me, the way I like to play, like the more specific you can get, the more fun I find it is for everyone involved. Mm-hmm. So I try to draw from those experiences, and then I draw from my own. But sometimes if I'm in a scene where I feel like the most fun thing is something I've never done, I'm just going to do that because I'm also drawn to things that are like weird.
Yeah, you're so good at playing specific characters, and I've seen you improvise circles around people, me included. Like there was my God, that show that we did. I think it was like 2 Thanksgivings ago. We did like the Thanksgiving show together at the Elysian, and you played a character that was like an MLM marketer or something. You know, like trying to sell us Tupperware and stuff. Yeah, and I was like. That was one of those shows where, like, I on my way home in my car, I just spent the whole drive being like, why isn't Laci on SNL? Like, you were just so tight with that character, and to sustain a character like that for a 55-minute show and never let up on the specifics, on having an answer for everything, the emotional involvement, I couldn't believe that it felt like I was in a room with a person that wasn't you. I was just blown away by your character work.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was honored to be on stage with you. You make it so easy to play. That was such a fun show. No, I'm telling you, because like sometimes I do shows and now I just do them for fun. I know you know what I mean when I say this. Like when you go and do like a live show, I don't know for you, but for me, when I first started doing improv at UCB, like mess hall and then Herald night and stuff, like it felt like it was almost a job. It was like you want people to come see you want to get the reps, you have notes afterwards either with your artistic director or your coach. It felt more like, oh, I gotta do comedy right. Now when I go and perform at UCB, it's like I'm here to like show my ass. Like yeah. So when you can do that with people who like are so quick and you're like, wow, okay, like you know, you're having fun. Like that's what I love about it now. Yeah,
it is a lot looser now. I do like sometimes when I have students come to shows now or people that I've coached recently, if they tell me they saw a show and I'm like immediately sometimes embarrassed. Like I'm like, oh God, we were just partying up there. Like, you know, the shows can be a little more loose these days. And it's like, oh God, we're not showing you what you should be doing. Like, you know, but
you are though. Because it's like you learn the rule book and once you know it enough, you can throw some of it away. Yeah. And so that's like, I feel like that's something to look forward to. I actually was talking about this yesterday because I do still have an improv team that performs at UCB. I haven't made shows in a while because I've been out of town. But we were talking about the difference between like when you are on Herald Night or when you're like doing something that is studied by the audience, some of the audience members, versus when it's like you've known these people for a long time and now we can come up here and we know what the rules are, but we can fuck with them a little bit because we know them so well. And so I used to watch shows like the ones that you do at UCB and I'd be like, I want to get there where I don't have to be in this rigid structure and I can like but still have so much skill that I can do this, you know?
Yeah. You're right. It's a weird thing to get used to, I guess. Yeah. Well, but you are at that level. Like you do. I feel like you definitely play at that level. And I don't know what shows.
No, I mean, so like when you're students, like you said, you cringe when your students are looking at you, and I'm like, no, that's aspirational. Yeah. Like one day, hopefully, if they can, aspirational for them. They can do what you do.
For sure. Yeah. I remember that there was kind of like a running thing that would happen when I used to teach UCB classes and, you know, the students would have to see 2 shows a week and they would always come in and they would be citing people from shows and being like, well, Jason Mantzoukas did blah, blah, blah. Or like Colton.
Not too much, Jason.
Yeah, right. Colton Dunn always does blah, blah, blah. And like, and it was like this running joke among the teachers that we had to constantly be like, stop. Are you Jason Mantzoukas or Colton Dunn? Are you Eugene Cordero? Okay. No,
Right.
when you are, you can play like that. Like you're not at that level yet. And I don't mean to make it like a hierarchy, but it is like you guys can't.
It's just like you have to learn. You have to learn the tools.
Yeah. You can't just like blow up scenes before you know how to make the scene and keep it going. And
You can't come in as Lou Wilson real hot with wild shit.
Right. He does have wild shit. I love playing with Lou.
I love playing with Lou.
Man.
Oscar Montoya is the same way. There's so many people who come in with like wild shit. Amon Giddy is the same way. There's like some Kimia Bepornia. Like there's certain players who you know when they step on stage, like, do you got a good monkey impression? Because we don't know what we about to be doing. Like,
right.
But it's gonna work and it's gonna be hilarious. But it's like you have to learn the building blocks before you can get to just being, outrageous like those people because they're very good at it.
Do you, let's talk about that. Like, do you prefer playing wild and silly or like, do you prefer being the unusual one in the scene or do you prefer being the voice of reason? Do you have a preference? Are you kind of a switch hitter?
I'm unusual for sure. I will give Beth Appel credit. She turned me into a switch hitter because eventually, like, she would come in and give us notes. Like, this is probably my like 4th year on Herald Night. So at this point, like, I'm working in television and, but like, she would come in and give us notes and she'd be like, Laci, like, when are you ever going to play like the voice of reason? And I was like, I don't really find that fun. And so
she's like, you don't say.
But then I learned there is so much fun to be had in playing the voice of reason. And I kind of had to, Lauren Shin helped me with this because when we were doing Florida Girls, the way that she sold that show was, she pitched all of our characters as men. So the comp for my character, Jayla, was Jamie Foxx. And the comp for her character, who was the voice of reason, was Jason Bateman. I think Jason Bateman is super fucking funny. And
Brilliant.
it's like, I started looking at the voice of reason as more of like a type of person versus like the person who's just like kind of killing all the fun and adding all the information, which is how I'd been seeing it done. And that I just realized I was seeing people do it poorly. And then when I would think about like Jason Bateman, or I think about other voice of reason characters that, I find so funny, I was like, oh, there's so much fun to be had here. And I was like, okay, so that's when I started being a switch hitter because at first I was like, I want to be unusual because I like to be weird and nothing else. And then
right. Yeah, well, it's that's so funny. And of course, and you're so good at it. But yeah, your style of playing voice of reason feels close to you as a person.
Yeah.
And that's where the like Jason Bateman tactic comes in. It's like, okay, if you found this strange that someone was saying this, how would you receive that? And look, it's sort of like The Office. Like I use The Office as an example. Yeah, every character takes turns being the straight man in that show, and you see it in the moment they turn to the camera and share the look with the audience. Like, can you believe what's happening? Do you see this? And every character, every actor on that show has a different way of doing that, or a different way of like shouldering the burden of whoever's being unusual in their day at the time. Yeah. Let's talk about Herald Night. What was that journey like for you? And did you like doing Heralds, or did you find it restrictive?
So Herald Night. Right before we get into that, I am gonna throw some shade at Used to Be New York.
Please, shade is welcome.
I probably moved out of New York, one, because of the weather, and it was making me too aggro. I adapt too quickly to my environment. If everybody acting crazy, I'm acting crazy. Like, it's a problem that I have. Improv probably encouraged it. But Used to Be New York was just very, like, stiff to me. At the time, it wasn't very diverse, and it was just... It felt like everybody was like beefing with each other over the same co-star on Broad City. Like the energy just wasn't as like, there wasn't much camaraderie there for me. And I would try to hang around and meet people. It just wasn't my vibe. And so I decided I was going to move to Los Angeles. So I was there in New York for 2 years. I took my 101 and 102, my second year that I was there. And then I moved to Los Angeles. And when I moved to LA, I decided that I was going to try to get the diversity scholarship, at UCB Los Angeles. And I actually was attacked by an unhoused person on my way to the interview. And it sounds crazy. It sounds bad, but like it was funny to me, but it was scary. I was like on time, which is rare for me. I like to be 7 minutes late, but I was like, this is an interview. Let me try to be on time, chap. So I'm on time. I park somewhere. This man starts yelling at me, and I'm thinking he's saying I can't park there because I've been told 12 times. So in Los Angeles, so we don't have to talk about it, Suzi. We don't have to talk about it.
Laci.
They used to know me.
I think we have to talk about it.
No,
12
they knew me.
times.
They knew me at the tow place. They would keep my file close. Like, it was crazy. But hey, Laci, you back? I'm like, yeah. What I owe? 283. Literally, it's 283. I don't know if inflation got them, but it was 283, $40 a day if you kept it overnight. So, I knew what was going on. I had no parking, and I worked at night and performed at night. It was crazy.
Yeah. Sell that car and start taking Ubers everywhere at that rate. 283. Okay. All right. Okay. What do I know?
I don't get towed anymore. It was just a thing of the past.
Congratulations. Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you. It took a lot of work to get here.
And now you're only 6.5 minutes late every time. No.
Yeah. Nobody's noticing that. Nobody's noticing that.
I love the phrase, I like to be 7 minutes late.
It's just the right amount. 10 minutes is egregious. 5's not enough for me. 7, right. You're not upset yet. You know what I mean? That's like if I come on time and I got to use the bathroom. You know what I mean? I've already used the bathroom. I get in the chair. Let's get going. Let's do the thing.
You're doing them a favor. You're not blowing up a toilet.
Well, I gotta be blowing it up, Suzi.
Gotta be. It's always getting blown, and it's either just before the meeting at home or after the meeting. Okay, so you got attacked on the way to your diversity scholarship interview.
I was walking towards UCB on Sunset, and this man starts yelling at me. He's like, "You bitch, you fucking bitch!" And then my dumb ass, I don't know what's wrong with me. I have ADHD, so I'm like, I have to get to this meeting. Everyone else logical that I told the story to was like, "Why didn't you run away?" And I was like, "Nah." So I started juking him. So I'm like going left, he going right. We're doing this, and then he's like off balance. So he kicks me in the thigh, and then he's off balance. So then I run past him and I run into UCB. And so I get up there and why am I wearing like a suit? I don't know. I am like a nerd. So I wore a suit.
Because it's an interview.
To an improv scholarship interview. Nobody else had on a suit.
Right. You were like, I've watched TV. I know what interview means. This ends with me walking through the halls of the White House, debriefing the president.
I used to wear suits to high school. There's something wrong with me.
I was
class president and student council president. I really treated it like I was in Veep or like somebody's like...
Yeah.
No, it was more like I was like in Scandal or 24. Like I was really taking it seriously. What the fuck is wrong with me? So I'm wearing this suit. So I go to the bathroom. I only have a minute. I'm trying to scrub the footprint off because the shoe was really dirty. So it left like a huge print on my black slacks.
Oh my God.
I couldn't get it all the way off. So then
Walking into an interview in your business suit with a fucking footprint on your thigh is so funny. I'm like, hello, good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Hello.
Fucking
Salutations.
Salutations and a good morrow.
I was in a brief dust up prior to the interview.
Why is she talking like that? I don't know. She seems professional. Let's give it to her.
Right. Whatever scam I could pull off. So Mono was there, and so was Kirby and a few other people. And I remember I told them what happened, and they were like, "Oh my, first of all, are you okay?" And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. It's actually just kind of funny to me. And they were like, well, Mono goes, I'll never forget. He was like, well, you've passed our hobo test. And I was like,
we release one every 20 minutes to
see how bad you want it.
Right, yeah.
I was like, I want it real bad. Like by the end of the interview, I was like, y'all, if y'all don't give me this, I gotta tag I fought this man.
Yeah. He's like, come on in, Frank, say hi. And the guy's like, hi, I'm Frank. I'm an actor who played the hobo.
Right.
Congratulations.
He was like, you probably see me on Law and Order.
Right. Anyway, here's a headshot. Yeah, exactly.
Right, literally.
For part 2 of this episode, go to yesalso.supercast.com. If you like this podcast and you want double the content, head over to yesalso.supercast.com and subscribe. You can also help us out for free by subscribing to us on YouTube and talking us up to your improv communities. If you have a question that you'd like us to answer in one of our Q&A episodes, or a topic that you think would make a great bonus episode, put it in a 5-star review. If you're a theater who would like to host us for a live recording and improv show, let us know at yesalsopod@gmail.com. A very special thanks to our producer, Ryan Rosenberg, audio and video editor, Brian Kessler, and social media czar, Britt Faye. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next week. No, we won't, Suzi. That's not how podcasts work. They won't even see us. They will listen to us, so it's actually the opposite of both things you said. Thanks for listening, and you will listen to us next week. Maybe. We don't know.